You awaken not in your own bed, but on a wooden platform, the stiff texture of coarse silk brushing against your skin. Outside, a rooster crows, not the annoying suburban echo of it, but the fierce, cracked cry of an animal that has never known the captivity of modern farms. The year is 1542. You are in the heart of imperial China. The Ming dynasty rules the land, and the Emperor Zhu Huchong, better known as the Jia Emperor, sits upon the dragon throne. You are not a noble, nor a scholar, nor a merchant. You are a commoner, and your day is about to begin. There is no concept of leisure. Time is measured not in minutes, but in duties. Before the sun fully rises, you must clean the courtyard, prepare tea for the elders of your household, and make a fire from wet, smoky wood. The air is thick with morning mist, and the smell of stagnant canals mixes with the tang of fermented soy. You are not yet hungry, you wouldn't dare be, but your stomach is already aware that it will be hours before you taste anything. Hygiene is not a priority. Bathing happens once a week, perhaps less in winter. Your clothing, simple and undyed, has been worn for weeks without wash. The water is too precious, and fuel to heat it even more so, yet you must appear neat. Social order is sacred here. If the village elder sees you with your hair unkempt or your robe wrinkled, he may report you to the local Yamen officer, and that visit could cost you more than money. It could cost you lashes. You step outside. The streets are narrow, made of hard-packed earth and the occasional stone. The village is awake. Women draw water from a communal well, their backs bent, their hands raw. Children chase a rolling hoop down the alley. Men, like you, go to the fields. You are a tenant farmer. Like most, the land is not yours. You labor for a landlord who lives in comfort in a walled compound, never touching the soil you till. The rice paddies are a sea of wet green. You enter the field barefoot. The water is cold, home to leeches and the unseen glide of snakes. Your back bends instinctively. Your hands already remember what your mind does not. The repetitive, silent motion of transplanting rice seedlings. This is your life from spring to autumn. In winter there will be less food, but more time to mend clothes, sharpen tools, and pray that the taxes next season are not raised again. By midday, the sun scorches. There is no shade. You pause only briefly for a meal, a bowl of millet porridge perhaps, or if you are lucky, rice with salted radish. Meat is a luxury you might taste once a month. Tea is weak, more water than leaf. You speak little, for speech wastes energy. The silence of labor is broken only by the cries of birds, the splash of frogs, and the distant clang of a temple bell. There is no concept of individuality here. Your place in society is fixed, and your duty is to maintain harmony within it. To rebel, to question, even to dream aloud of a better life, is to invite suspicion. The Emperor is the Son of Heaven, his mandate divine, his word law. Even speaking his name casually is forbidden. If someone were to hear you criticize the Emperor, even in jest, it could be seen as treason. And treason is not punished with imprisonment, but with death, perhaps slow death, perhaps death for your entire family. If you are a woman, your burdens are no lighter. You may be married at 15, sent to live with a husband you did not choose. Your feet may be bound, tightly wrapped in cloth to keep them small, deformed, considered beautiful. You rise even earlier than the men. You must cook, clean, tend. The children, care for in-laws and be silent through it all. Your thoughts are not your own. Even in poetry, they are expressed through metaphor, hidden meanings, veiled sorrow. Should you fall ill, you do not see a doctor, for doctors are for the wealthy. You visit a herbalist or a monk, or rely on home remedies passed down by grandmothers. If your ailment persists, you live with it or die from it. There is no mercy in nature and no guarantee in medicine. The spirits are appeased with incense and prayer, but they do not always listen. When the day's labor ends, it is already dusk. You walk back to your home, a one-room hut of mud bricks and straw. Inside, your family shares a single oil lamp. Paper is expensive, so news comes by word of mouth. You hear that a bandit raid happened 2 villages over. You hear that the emperor is building another palace. You hear that the harvest next season might be poor. All of it concerns you, but none of it is within your control. Dinner is modest, perhaps a congee, thin and plain. You eat in silence. There is no music, no television, no book to unwind with. If you are literate, a rarity, it means you were either a monk, a failed scholar, or the child of one. You do not write for pleasure. You copy texts for preservation, recite them for memorization. Thought is not a game. It is a sacred duty to history and order. Before sleep, you light incense to the household gods, wooden figures blackened with years of smoke. You bow 3 times, you whisper hopes, not prayers. The gods do not grant wishes, but they might spare misfortune. You tuck into a mat on the floor, no mattress, no pillow, just cloth, straw, and exhaustion. Outside, the night is not quiet. Crickets chirp endlessly, dogs bark at shadows. Somewhere, a distant gong rings the time. There's no glass in the windows, just lattice and oiled paper. Wind enters freely, so do mosquitoes. You wrap your robe tighter. You try not to think of tomorrow, for it will be the same as today and the day before it. You would not last a day in Imperial China, not because the people were weak or the customs cruel, but because the weight of survival was constant. The rhythm of life was relentless. There was no escape from the social order, no promise of upward mobility. There was only duty, tradition, and the long, silent stretch of history rolling forward, and yet millions lived it, carried it, passed it down. Not with resentment, but with a kind of sacred acceptance. This was the mandate of heaven. And in that silence, in that submission, an entire civilization endured for thousands of years. You close your eyes. The oil lamp dims. The earth exhales. And somewhere beyond the mountains, the emperor sleeps in silk and jade, dreaming of immortality. While the world beneath him labors on.